Fuck. What's up, man? Let me take you for a little spin, man. Show you what it feel like.
I gotta go make these drop-offs.
Man, you think you're the only one out here working, B? Gotta make drop-offs too, B. Come on, man, get in, man. I ain't taking no for an answer, man.
All right, man. Welcome to the 290 Moe podcast. I appreciate you for coming on. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for my viewers and listeners?
Hey, thank you for having me on. I am Paul Lamar Hunter, and I am delighted to be on your podcast show to share a positive story at this moment because we are in a pandemic, and I believe that a lot of people need a positive, inspirational story.
Okay, that's definitely dope. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the things that I like to do on the 290 Moe podcast is, well, one of the things is bring everybody from all corners of the world with all type of stories to tell, but of course somebody who's spreading positivity, you know what I'm saying, with their words. So with that being said, let's just start from the beginning and tell the viewers and listeners why your story is special.
Well, my story is very unique because my mother is the first woman in history to birth 21 natural children by my dad. 17 of us living today, 63 grandchildren, and 87 great-grandchildren. You remember the song R. Kelly used to sing? There's nothing wrong with a little bit of bump and grind, bump and grind, bump, 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 bump and grind.
Yeah,
So,
they definitely took them words to truth. So with that being said, you said she was the first woman to naturally have 21 kids. How was that confirmed, and has there been anyone after to have 21 natural birth?
No, it never has been another woman to birth 21 children. The Duggars, they came close. If you remember the show 19 and County, she birthed 19 children. But my mother is the first woman to birth 21 natural children. And one thing that I want to say is that this story right here, I believe that this story will invoke a large range of emotions that will make people cry, that will make people, laugh. And most importantly, this story changed people's lives.
Okay. So before we get into that, you know what I'm saying, is with your mother being the only one to ever have 21 natural birth kids, was that something like the Guinness come knocking on the door, that the hospital come? Did you get a letter from like the government, like you the only one, you know what I'm saying? So how was that something that was like confirmed or even brought to you guys' attention? Because I mean, back in the day, it was normal for people to have a lot of kids, but 21, you know what I'm saying? So was that
it was confirmed through Ebony magazine. So if you ever go to Ebony magazine and you look at, we were profiled in there twice. So in 2005 or 2006, we were featured in Ebony magazine, and on the front cover was Dream Girls. And so they diligently did their research and discovered that my mother at that particular time was the only woman to birth 21 natural children. So it's amazing to see a strong woman to give birth to 21 natural children.
Okay. That definitely has to be something a spectacle. So with that being said, we're gonna move along on to how was it being one of 21 children, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm pretty sure you always hear about there being attention issues when the new baby get a little baby and it's only 2 kids. So it's 21 of you guys. How was that growing up? Did you feel like you were given the correct amount of time and attention, or was everybody, you know what I'm saying, given equally? Or just talk to me about how it was growing up with all those siblings.
Well, I have to be honest with you. We did not have ample time with either parents because my father was working 2 jobs, and sometimes my mother will work a part-time job until she started her homeless shelter. But it was my older siblings that really looked out for the younger ones. My older siblings did homework with us. My older siblings had to do our hair, had to make sure that we were fed, had to make sure that we took baths every night, had to make sure that we were in bed at a certain time. So I give a lot of credit to my mom and dad for bringing me in the world, but I also give credit to my other siblings because sometimes they had to forego a lot of activities. And you know, when you're a teenager, guess what you want to do? You want to hang out with your friends, your peers. But that particular time, they had to stay at home and forego going to prom, forego hanging out and going to festivities or cookouts as teenagers. So, but I just want to give a lot of credit to my mom, to my dad, and also to my siblings for doing a fantastic job.
Okay. So that's definitely understandable. And forgive me for being a little bit ahead of myself, but just talking a little bit more your childhood and growing up, where exactly did you grow up? And did that locale have any effect also on the way you guys were raised? You know what I'm saying? Just like, was you raised on a farm? You said your mother had ended up opening up the shelter. So how was the area you lived in? Did that play a role in your growing up in any way?
Yeah, Racine, Wisconsin. It's about 38 miles from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And so it played a significant role. You got to remember, I was born in 1970. So back then, the community was very close. So I knew my neighbor, and the neighbor knew the Hunter family. So we were very close. So there were times where we did not have any food, but neighbors, people in the community, will just drop off food at the Hunter family. So it really did cultivate my thinking ability because I am a giver, I am a helper. And so anytime when a person is in need, I'm going to help them, because there was a time when we didn't have anything and you have strangers coming, knocking on the door, leaving toys, leaving food, leaving money for the Hunter family. So it really did cultivate my positive mindset about life, and that is that there are good people out in the world.
Okay. And just speaking quickly on the climate of where we are now with the state of things going on, how was growing up in Racine, Wisconsin in 1970 with the police, and was it a predominantly Black neighborhood you grew up in? Was it mixed? Did you ever have to deal with any type of racial profiling, racism growing up in Racine, Wisconsin?
Well, I tell you what, when I was born in 1970, so 1970 to 1980, and then from 80 on to 1990, I did not start to experience racism until I started driving.
Was that something
Got
you
my
guys talked about at home?
There was something my mom always told us about when we ever got pulled over by police officers. Always comply. Make sure you had your hands on the steering wheel. Always say yes, sir, no, ma'am. So every parent always give that talk to their children. Just like I have 4 children, and I gave that talk to my children, and they are adults, and I continue to give that talk to them because I wanted to seek into their subconscious mind. I want my children to come home safe to me, and it's very crucial because back then when I was born, I did not witness it, but I think it was going on, but it was undercover. And so you have to look at, we didn't have cell phones at that particular time. Now everybody has this new technology, which is cell phone, and everybody is being captured doing something positive or doing something negative.
Yep, that's definitely correct. So before we move ahead into a little bit, I want to get into your mother and your father. Now, you mentioned that your father worked 2 jobs and that your mother eventually ended up opening a shelter. What type of work did your father do? And with your father working and your mother eventually opening and running a shelter, did you feel like was there room for, did you feel like you were getting enough love and attention? Like, was there enough physical room in the house and enough physical room for love and attention for you?
Well, I have to say this, that my father had worked two jobs at a manufacturing. He worked for Case, and what Case did was produce tractors. He also worked for Bale City, and he worked 16 hours a day. So we did not see our father until basically the weekends. So my mother did work a part-time job, but it was like 4 hours a day until she started the homeless shelter. And she spent a lot of time over there. But I can say this, that it was love in the house when my father was alive, because my father was very caring. He was loving. He always looked out for us. And my mother, some of the things that she had experienced into her childhood and brought it into adulthood, and I think it really affected her ability to show compassion, to love. But you know, I have to say this: my mom is not perfect, but she was the perfect person that God created to birth 21 natural children. There's a lot of things that I don't have as a parent, you know, and I can't fault my parents for a lack of parenting skills, because if you ask my children, they might say, hey, you know what, he was a great dad, and teaching us how to read, how to write, and coaching us for basketball and football. You know, he showed love, he showed empathy. So, you know, I'm not perfect myself, and my mother is not perfect, and my father is not perfect.
Right.
But I tell you what, they did an amazing job of cultivating our attitude, and that is that no matter what is going on in life, never give up.
Dope. So let me ask you this. Um, I'm not sure if this is a question that you can answer directly, but is this something that you ever asked or talked to your parents about? Like, why 21 kids? Did they ever, was it a something like they loved having kids, they want to have as many they can have, or it was the birth control, what it is now, or was that something that you guys ever talked about? Like, hey, mom, why you ain't stop after 10, or something like that?
Well, yes, we did ask my mom that. Several of my siblings
Mm-hmm.
asked my mom that, and my mom had always stated to us, whatever God gives her, you know, to birth, that's what she's going to that's what she's going to deliver. And she said when God tells her to stop, when he tells the her insides to stop working, it will stop
Mm-hmm.
working, and she was stop having children. But she said as long as God has given her the ability to have children, she's going to have children.
Okay, and do you know how old she was when she first had her first child, and how old she was when she had her last child?
I just know this, that when she got pregnant, she was 16 and a half when she had her first child.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also with her last child, she was 44 years old.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So now we're moving along to your mother opening the shelter. So at this point, what age are you, and what role do you play in the opening and the maintenance, or just the daily operation of the shelter? Or is it a family business? Or is this just this, or is this just mom's project? How do you fall into that, or the
That's
family and as a whole?
that's a very good question. I play a significant role.
Mm-hmm.
So when you read my book, I talk about my mom standing outside the shelter,
Mm-hmm.
and while she was standing outside the grand opening of the shelter, I was in the womb of my mother at that
Mm-hmm.
particular time. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm. So,
so,
yeah, one and the
so,
same.
so as years proceeded, and I became a teenager, it was very important for us to go to school. After we get out of school, we had to rush over to my mom homeless shelter, because
Mm-hmm.
she had after school activities for the people in the community. So there were volunteers there, making sure that kids in the community come in and get assistance with clothes, with homework, with food. And so my mom did a tremendous job giving to the community and making sure that once our school activities has ended, that we were able to come over there and assist her, even with some of the paperwork, and even with talking to the media and making sure that the media highlight this amazing story of how she birthed 21 natural children and started a homeless shelter. This homeless shelter, Love and Charity Homeless Shelter, was the first homeless shelter in the city of Racine, Wisconsin.
Okay, so talking more about the shelter, how big was this shelter? And you mentioned it was in Racine, Wisconsin, also where you lived. Was it a need for a homeless shelter at the time? Like, was it a big homeless population? And you also mentioned about you guys, well, 21 kids is obviously, money isn't, if you're not rich, money's obviously going to be tight. How did your mother get the funding to even open this shelter in the first place to even provide them type of services?
Well, my mother shelter was a nonprofit organization. So in that nonprofit organization, she received a lot of donations from a lot of organizations, businesses, people in the community. So inside that shelter, like I stated before, she will feed people, men and women of all life came into that shelter.
Can you
She
recall
started.
how many families at a time roughly you have up in there? Or how
Oh,
many people?
there were sometime 15 to 30 people. Now
That's
you got
pretty
to
decent
understand
sized
that
place, huh?
she had a big, huge building that was donated to her. It was a two-story building that was donated to her to assist the homeless population. So at that particular time when the shelter started, it was a small percentage of people that was homeless in the city of Racine, Wisconsin. But as years went on, and you got to understand this, brother, that a lot of drugs and alcohol, cause people to become homeless, and also mental issues wasn't addressed like it is today. So it was a bunch of people that came into my mom homeless shelter, and my mom was able to assist them as well.
Okay. So with you basically being born at the same time as the inception of the shelter, so did you ever become, close with any of the the relatives or anything like that? Was it a job to you, or did you ever come to it as like a family neighborly aspect of it?
I think Love and Charity was built on family. I really believe that, because any time the clients or residents came in, my mother wanted them to fit in and wanted them to feel like this is a family shelter. So to me, it was a family organization, a family atmosphere, a family environment that wanted people to feel a part of feel part feel like they are a part of a team.
So so let's talk about the ending. So where is the shelter now? Is it still up and running? Is it a family business? If so, how is it doing? And if not, why not? It's 21 of you guys. Why wouldn't that be something that's still, what I'm saying, like part of the family legacy?
Well, it's still a part of the family legacy. So you got to understand this, that one of the residents' name is Dennis Woods, and he wrote a book titled Love and Charity, The Life Story of Louise Hunter. Now that book has been adapted into a screenplay. Also, I came out with my book, No Love, No Charity, The Success of the 19th Child, which has been adapted into a screenplay. So my older siblings and the young ones, all of us are adults now. We have our own we have our own desires and passion in life. So we do not want to get into continuing the homeless shelter business. My mom shut it down in 2016 because she could no longer do it anymore. So we did not want to continue it because we have our own family, we have our own kids, and we have grandchildren now. So we at a different stage
And that's a
in our
24-hour
life.
job, basically.
And yes, it is a 24 hours job. And so, you know, we have our own lives now. Like my brother is a chef. My other brother, he's a cook. My older sister, she runs a modeling agency. So everybody has their own careers and they have their own passion of what they want to pursue in life.
Okay, so let's talk about the adult stage now. A matter of fact, we're gonna ask a couple questions about the book. Okay, so if I had to ask you to describe your book to me in 30 seconds, what would you describe it as?
It's a powerful, impactful, straightforward book dealing with my childhood all the way up to graduation. And when I say that is that because I made history in the family, in the Hunter family. So I had to do a lot of research on the Hunter family lineage to discover that no one on my mom's side or my father's side ever graduated from college. So I became the first to graduate from college in 2012 from Upper Iowa University, and I have a bachelor's of science in business administration. So I am very delighted to lay the foundation in the Hunter family.
Okay. Now that was beautiful, but along with the release of your book, for me doing my research, it did come along with a little bit of controversy. If you could speak on the relationship between you and your sisters then and now.
Well, I think that back then they did not want to read the book. That's when the controversy came in. And see, when you have external people making statements, well, he said this in the book and he said that, he made that statement in the book, but you never read the information and you never came to me
and you gave him the
me,
book and you let him know you was writing the book.
And yes, and I gave them every opportunity to read it. But then as years went on and they started hearing other perspective from people saying, man, that's a good book. That's a book right there that it grabs your attention and you don't want to let it go. So then that's when they began to read the book and educate themselves. And they discovered that, man, this book is cathartic for me, and it bring healing into their lives. That's what it did, which was a good thing.
So what is that relationship now? Is it better?
The relationship is great today. It's great today because
have they read the book?
Yes, it gave them an opportunity to read it, and you can't listen to hearsayers because they will say negative stuff, and then it's kind of put like a blindfold over your eyes. But as years went on, they began to listen to what other people began to say, man, hey, you got to read that book. That book is unbelievable. Once they read it, they got a good understanding, they embrace it, and it brought healing into their life. And that's basically what I wrote the book for, is to bring healing into people's lives, because we come into this world of sin, and our parents are not perfect. You know, there's no book out there that we can read and say, this is the best book to read right here that will make you a better parent. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Okay. So with that being said, I also saw you guys appear on TV with Vivica Fox. So how did that opportunity present itself, and was it always as the basis as you wrote the book and your sisters didn't agree with it, or you came on for your book and they brought your sisters on? And how was that experience?
Well, this is how it happened. I was at the gym working out at Planet Fitness, and I saw this commercial of this new talk show. So I said, oh, wow, oh, Vivica A. Fox is coming out with a talk show, Face the Truth. And Dr. Phil is the executive producer. So
Right.
I knew Dr. Phil because I had spoken with him. So I decided to continue to lift weights. I left the gym, went home, and made the phone call. And once I made the phone call, she put me in contact with the producer, and the producer was like, "Oh, okay, is this true?" Because the first lady was like, "Is this true? A woman birthed 21 children?" So I said, "Well, are you sitting at your computer?" She said, "Yes." So she went to her computer, and I said, "Well, put it in my website." And she went to my website. She saw the videos, and she was just, taken aback. So she said, "Well, Mr. Hunter, can you please hold on for a minute?" So she went to go tell another executive producer. And so he couldn't believe it. So he gets on the phone, and they basically, next minute I know, we on the phone for about 45 minutes to an hour and a half talking because they couldn't believe it. So what I had to do was I had to get all the information, everybody that had profiled my story, I had to email it to them.
Right.
And so it had happened. And then I sent them a copy of the book. They was excited. They read the book, and they said, "Hey, can you help us get some of your siblings on the show?" So I gave them some phone numbers, but they didn't want to bring everybody on because they said it was too many.
Exactly. And then we're going to get to that too.
So basically what they did, they selected my three siblings, my three sisters to come on. So it was more like, you gotta, if you see Vivica A. Fox show, it's about drama. So it was like a cat fight, and
that's why I wanted to ask you what the relationship was like now. You know what I'm saying?
It's great. It really is great. It was a cat fight. It was a scratching. Let's scratch his face.
Right. It's good for TV.
It's good for TV. So I think they picked those three women because those three women didn't read the book. So
right. It makes sense. They know what they be doing, man. That's why they got the job. Right. So with that being said, man, before we wrap it up, man, if I could ask you, man, if it's something that you don't mind going into, we talked about it the whole show, you having 21 siblings. Where are all your 21 siblings now? Are they all college graduates? Are they all alive and well? What is that like now? Because that family reunion got to be a mother, you know what I'm saying? So if you could talk to us about that.
Well, there are 17 siblings living today. I got some siblings on the West Coast.
That's still you know what I'm saying, an amazing number. You know what I'm saying? For real.
Yeah. So I got some sisters in Los Angeles, Texas, Minnesota, Memphis, Tennessee, Atlanta. So they also Orlando. So I can't forget about my sister Bonnie down in Orlando, Florida. So we are basically spread it out, and like I said earlier, they are at a different stage in their lives today because their children are adults now and they have grandchildren now. So hopefully this year we'll get together on the 4th of July because that's when we have our annual family reunion where everybody comes together. So I'm just hoping that we will get together for that and just have some fun because
we might have to talk live from the family reunion. You get that together, man. That'd be, you might have some media out there, man.
Yeah.
For
every time when I reach out to the media, they will come out, they will really come out and really promote the Hunter family story. So, like I said, last year we've been in a pandemic, so we couldn't do it. Hopefully this year we are able to see each other again and have fun and embrace each other.
All right, man. So before I get you up out of here, man, tell me, what is your mission and what is your vision? What is your mission as in what do you got working on? What do you got coming up? And what is your vision as in at the end of the day, when you sit back in your big chair and you look back and you say, I'm finished, what is that going to look like?
I think that the biggest projects that I'm working on right now is I'm speaking with producers of the Nick Cannon show, the Tamron Hall show, Kelly Clarkson show. Also, I'm getting ready to sign a movie deal, so I can say that, you know. So the vision is that when things are done and over with, I want to say to the people that I came from the inner city. I went against the odds. No one gave me a chance, but I never gave up on my ability. I never gave up on good people that can develop a man like me. I never gave up on my vision, my purpose. I always put my purpose and my vision above my circumstances. And you should not ever put your, you know, your circumstances over your vision and purpose.
All right, man. That's definitely dope information. I appreciate you for coming on the show. Let the people know where they can find your book and where they can find you on social media.
Well, hey, I'm on social media under Paul Lamar Hunter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and also TikTok. My book is available at Barnes and Noble, Amazon.com website. And you can get my mother book as well, Love and Charity, the life story of Louise Hunter in the Love and Charity Homeless Shelter. The title of my book is No Love, No Charity, The Success of the 19th Child.
All right, man. Like I said, I appreciate you for coming on. I look forward to having you back, man.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Have the rest of a good day.
You too.
All right.